evening, and welcome to another episode of Tinker, Tailor, Solder, Fry, the Let's Try program, here on the mighty Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network. My name's Ian Horner, and I will be your navigator through today's activities as we replace the batteries within a set of portable earbuds. But before we get into anything else, we should remind you, the viewer at home, that everything we do here at Loading Ready Run is supported by you and your kind generosity over at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun, as well as a host of other methods of helping us out financially, stored at loadingreadyrun.com, becoming a subscriber over at twitch.com/loadingreadyrun. But we'd like to thank those of you off the top of the show for helping us out month to month and helping us to keep the shows going. So, it's 2022. It's not 2022, it's 2023. Good God, I'm still signing all of my shows with 2022. And you'd think that we would have figured out a good way to make the perfect battery-operated product where we could, when the batteries eventually exhausted themselves from their recharging cycles, that we'd be able to swap batteries out easily, quickly, and for minimal of fuss and money.
Why would you think that?
Because I grew up in the 1990s when computers were still getting very good year after year, and then suddenly it just went. But
we've gotten much worse at that, I would say.
Quite a bit. That said, some of the pieces of technology that we've had in the past few years, in fact, the past 5 years, have been life-changing, quite frankly. I love to listen to podcasts. I love to listen to audiobooks, and so I'm always got a pair of headphones on sometime in my home. And when the AirPods came out from Apple, they kind of solved the biggest problems that wireless headphones had, which was that they didn't work, or that if they did work, they required a lot of muss and fuss. But with the Apple AirBuds, you pull them out, you put them in, and they just work. Until you use them too long, and then the batteries become dead, and they decide to, 5 minutes out on your walk to go get some groceries, just kind of cut out, which is what's happening right now with this pair of Sonys. It doesn't just happen to Apple's. In fact, we're at the stage now where I can't walk to work without having these things die on me during the process. So, what we're going to do is, as I said, open them up and swap the battery. How do I feel so confident about this? Because when I purchased my AirBuds, I was incredibly happy. I had no wires get in the way of my washing up or my crafts or whatnot. But I never wanted to buy what I considered a piece of disposable technology, especially a disposable technology that cost in the neighborhood of $300 again. And so I didn't. I went out online and I searched, what sort of headphones are out there that you can replace the battery on. And turns out there are a number of them, but some of them are easier than others. And we've got a few examples of that we're going to go through here today for you as well. But these ones turned out to be ones that were probably the only ones that I could find that were earbud style, where you could replace the battery in them as well. And to that end, this is what we're going to be sticking inside. That's a replacement battery. You can just buy these on the internet. These are tiny little lithium-ion coin cells. And they are, as you can see, about the right size to go inside of these things. The Sony, I guess I should let people know what model it is. WF-1000X M3L without the L. 1000X M3s with WF. Now, unfortunately, you can't just screw them open. They haven't made them that easy for us, so we are going to have to crack into these a bit and release them. But from what I understand, there is no adhesive holding them together, so that's a major plus in the Sony's camp for that.
What's the little blue light indicating?
The blue light indicates that it is on and currently trying to pair with the telephone.
Ah.
How do you turn them off? You don't.
There's no way to turn them off.
No.
I mean, when I think about it, I guess there isn't really any way to turn the
Yeah, the Apple AirPods.
AirPods off either.
Yeah.
They just don't have a light on them, so it's not as obvious.
Yep. By the way, it is possible to replace the battery in AirPods. I recently saw a video on that, but God, that's the amount of special equipment you need. You need a properly CNC'd big aluminum holder for the AirPod itself, which also acts as a heat sink, which is important because then you blast the bottom stem with hot air to loosen up the adhesive, and then very carefully just grab the silver part and twist it out, and then pull the tiny, tiny tubular battery out, desoldered.
And I'm assuming it's not one of the, like a standard lithium coin cell type battery.
No, absolutely not.
Weird thing that they came up with.
And, as I mentioned, you do have to desolder the battery and then resolder the new one in. What's interesting about this design is that if it matches up with what I've been seeing other people do, there is no there is no soldering involved in this. It's kind of amazing.
Oh, really? Cool.
A couple other points. Paul asked before the show if we needed to replace the battery in the case itself, and it still seems to be pretty strong for me, at least. Thankfully, replacing the battery in the case is a lot easier just because it's a lot larger. And because it's not an Apple product, it already has USB-C in it, so I don't need to go about making that particular switch.
I feel like I've seen half a dozen videos lately about installing USB-C on things that didn't previously have it.
Again, something that might be interesting to try in the future, because I do want to be able to have more USB-C in my life and less USB Mini B. Ugh. Let me see here. Is there anything else I want to go over before we do? Well, before we get into these, let's have a look at one other example of headphone battery replacement. This is a little Bluetooth adapter that connects to the Bose Quiet Comfort 25 and 30 series. It just sticks right in there. This is actually one of Heather's pieces of equipment because she was having issues with the battery life in it going down to the same levels. And unfortunately, this is not an example of completely easy to replace tech. When you crack this sucker open, it's a one-way operation. You're looking at actually snapping bits of plastic that have been glued or ultrasonically welded together in each of these things. So we can probably glue this together or give it some adhesive to put it back together. But in this one I found interesting because the battery is actually made up of two separate lithium-ion cells.
Oh, neat.
So you can actually get in there. You can purchase the batteries for these as well and replace them, but she got a good deal on.
So you were not able to repair this one in a useful way?
Well, I haven't got to it yet. I haven't actually purchased the batteries yet. But now that Heather's got some other headphones, it's become less of a priority. The other one I wanted to go with was some headphones that I was using before I went to the Earbuds, which are these Sony's as well. Hello, they're large. But what's nice about these is that they are also extremely easy to replace the battery on. It's just a matter of just popping off. Maybe I'm not going to do it on this one just yet, but just popping off the inner ear cup. And then once you get the ear cup off, down below, there we go. Inside the ear cup, you'll find a number of screws. That just pops the outer case off the end, and the battery is just right there. You just slide it out and then plug in the new one.
I can imagine if you were an engineer who had just worked on, true wireless earbuds, and then somebody was like, okay, now we need to do a wireless system for these, over-the-ear headphones. You'd be like, what? I have too much space. I don't know what to do with all this space.
You could fill it with battery. No. Okay, well, enough procrastinating here. I need to make some hopefully not irreparable decisions, but some one-way decisions into getting into these. This is always the most nerve-wracking part, so I've brought in some spudging tools that have been used in other repairs. And what we need to do, and of course me being the genius that I am, trimmed all of my nails right down to the quick before this this program. So let's see here. How do I get this in? Oh! This may be a quick repair on these ones. So that just goes in there. And let's use the other. Ah! Okay, one more time. Oh no. Did I lose the edge on it? No, I just came from the wrong side. There we go, okay. Aha! When you hear the clicks, that means you're making progress.
So this one, as opposed to glue or welding or anything, this is just held together with some clips.
Yeah, plastic clips. You don't see that this often. And you bring up an interesting point, Paul. I don't think you see clips that often because everyone is also touting now waterproofness as part of the feature.
Right. Which,
and yeah, doesn't really come from clippage.
I mean, I remember I had like just like a disposable, or not disposable, but like a relatively middle of the road watch. It was like a Timex Iron Man or whatever that had waterproof down to 30 meters or something. But there was an explicit thing where once the battery has been replaced, that waterproofness guarantee is void. But which I think is seems like a reasonable way of doing it. It's like, look, you can install a new battery, you can replace the battery, that's no problem. But in doing so, you're going to break the CO, which means it's not going to be waterproof anymore. Yeah. C'est la vie.
Okay, here we go. There's a little bit of adhesive in here. I'm just peeling it back now. Whew, okay.
Wow.
We got in there.
There's no wires connecting the little... I always hate that when you pull off a piece and then there's like 3 wires connecting it to something else.
I think there's just, this a little bit of adhesive over this foam portion right in there.
So why is there a piece of sandpaper inside the...
Oh, and the adhesive also this bit here. So I'm going to try and avoid touching that.
Are these multi-driver earbuds?
I don't know if they are. I mean, they only have the one hole coming out. Please disregard my ear contents. But
I assume these have been quite... they've worked quite well for you, eh?
Oh, yes.
In terms of the sound and everything?
They are great. They've got the transparency mode as well. But I guess they call it something different. I don't think it's quite as clear in transparency mode as the Apple ones are, but in terms of audio quality, these are fantastic, and the plugs are great.
Well, they're with the black plastic. It's difficult to make it transparent.
All right.
Oh. Right.
I recently had to change my
fancy screwdriver
FEP screen on the 3D printer, which involves changing, I believe, upwards of about 20 screws at once. So the automated screwdriver really came in handy there. Okay, and I think that's it.
What's a FEP screen?
Ah, I wish it's flexible extrusion something. What it is it's the flexible screen that goes in between the actual LCD screen and the moving platform on a resin 3D printer.
Oh.
And so to print, it starts off with the base touching the FEP.
Right.
And then it cures one layer and then pulls it off of that flexible screen.
Oh, I didn't know you had a resin printer.
Yeah, I was bullied into purchasing one by Texan Reverend last year.
That sounds like something they would do.
Definitely, and it was actually a great addition to my making setup. I got to use it for a few of the pieces of the Desert Bus button this year. Okay, so I think those are
some of the models that you had for that Kill Team stream, were they on that as well?
also correct. Yep, the little Zaku's 3D printed.
Right. Yeah. The FDM, is it called? The regular. That's the regular style.
Yeah, FDM is the
don't work so well for like little models, I guess.
not quite as well. The resolution just isn't quite there. Oh, good. The Mericat's got information here. In terms of material, many desktop resin printers use fluorinated ethyl propylene films because of its good chemical resistance and non-stick properties. Also, they're stretchy as heck.
Cool.
All right, here we are, though.
Boom.
We made it inside.
Well, that wasn't so tough.
Yeah.
And it's actually it's not soldered, or it's just in a little.
Its own little.
It's kind of like replacing like your clock battery in your computer or something.
It really is, or just a hearing aid battery.
Now, have you noticed that like one is like on my headphones? I find that one dies before the other.
Absolutely, and it's the left button or it's the left headphone always, and it's now at the point where used it twice today, and I can walk from my home to the moon base just before it cuts out.
I'm assuming that's to do with like which one has the like. Is it the same as the AirPods where both sides have a microphone on them?
I believe it is. Yeah, they have to be because of the noise canceling built into
Right. So I assume it's like which side's microphone is active I would assume would be the one that dies first.
My thought is actually that it's more power draw issue, that these are in your head, and so necessarily one of them is going to be farther from the source, your phone,
wow.
than the other, and your head is full of a lot of water. And I wasn't.
So, I mean, it would be interesting to try like put your phone in your other pocket and see if the other one dies first.
I think it'd definitely be a good long-term study, but I speak with confidence about water being a blockage or an issue for specifically for Bluetooth from doing some exercise back before the pandemic. I was getting into doing a lot more swimming, and so I bought a set of those headphones that the Aftershocks is the brand name, but the bone conduction headphones.
Oh, nice.
That were also Bluetooth based.
And they did not work?
Well, they were actually great for listening to podcasts because you didn't block the ears, so I didn't have any issues with water in the nose and ears for that. The problem that they had was that the minute you dive below the surface of the water, all Bluetooth connection ceases. And this was just distance from watch to head.
I've seen I've seen swimming things where there's actually just like it's like an actual MP3 player that just sort of sits at the back of your head and has headphones attached to it.
There are amongst
so it doesn't have to do the wireless thing.
Amongst big swimmers, the iPod Nano, the last generation, is very well regarded because it is it's very small, so you can just clip it to your goggles or your swim cap. But B, you can very easily waterproof them yourself by just filling them full of petroleum jelly or some other sort of
nice
water-resistant thing.
Yeah, they don't make those anymore, though.
They certainly do not.
Yeah, those were cool. They were just like a completely featureless, like, almost looked like a Tic Tac or something.
Yeah, the Tic Tac ones. I was thinking the ones that came just before that, where it was just the little
just the
square
circle, right?
With the circle. Yeah. Okay, so what we're doing right now is being very careful because there is a bit of adhesive to keep the battery in place. And you can just hear it kind of rip out there. I hope you can. Here it is. Let's hope we can keep most of that in there. I mean, I think it'll be fine without it, but okay. And there we are.
ASMR battery being removed from headphones.
So there's a little battery pit for it. Just one connector on the bottom and then another connector up top. I don't think I've damaged anything in there, so that's a plus. We're going to keep that little piece of paper on there so we know which battery is the bad one. But yeah, I would say that other batteries are available, but I think Varta is the only company that makes these.
And is this the same watt hours or whatever? The same capacity?
They should be. Oh my goodness, I'm now old enough that I can't read that off the ground. Where 0.2 watt hours in each of these, and they run at 3.7 volts apparently. Well, I suppose I could have just tipped that up to the camera and probably read it off the screen. Yep, definitely could have done that.
Oh, Germany.
Mm-hmm. I'm led to understand from a well-known product review program, Magical Nyan Nyan Taruto, that German things are the best.
It's weird that they don't have like a as seen on Magical Nyan Nyan Taruto.
I think I might be one of the few people who still remembers Magical Nyan Nyan Taruto in any form.
So, do you think you need to glue that battery in again, or are you just gonna
I think
pressure fit it?
I think it's feels like it's in there pretty solid, and it's not like it's having any conductivity issues. So we're just going to button this one up and see how that goes. I have noted, though, I'll bring it over here, that there was a little bit of damage done to the housing when we were pulling it out. That little plastic
just
bit
one of
there.
the little clips there.
Yeah, one of the clips.
So hopefully there isn't any issues with that door coming off. I guess.
Usually what that means, I found in past when I'm dealing with clips like that, usually what that means is it'll just be easier to take off next time. In 3 years' time. Okay. Let's get that other one in there. And then we'll go with earbud number 2. You'll be happy to know, Paul, that I did take the time to recharge the screwdriver before coming in today. I was worried we'd run out of juice on screen.
I mean, if we did, then we would just how to replace the battery in the screwdriver. I'm assuming, being all open source and fancy, it's probably just a plug-in replacement. Yeah.
I would hope so. I'll bet it's a bag battery rather than a round cell. It'd be really nice if it was easily just a round cell that you can pop off and put in. But
now, do you have to, when you just replace one of the batteries, is that enough to check to see whether it actually is working?
Well, first off, if I was going to test that, I've definitely replaced the wrong battery first.
Because this is the
left battery that's the issue one. But
because I guess the problem is like your phone or your watch or whatever, when it'll say how much capacity the battery has, but even when the batteries weren't working, it would be like, oh, battery looks full to me.
Yep, that would be the case. It's a battery 100%. 10 minutes later, please recharge battery.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So there's not an easy, reliable way to see like, oh, it's going to last this long now.
No, unfortunately not. But there is one final step once we get the batteries into these things. We do need to reset them by holding down the button inside of the charging case.
Right. I guess it's because it is designed to never turn off. Mm-hmm. So
technically, what's happened is we've just turned these headphones off for the first time in 3 years.
I mean, I guess this is just what would happen if you left it outside the case for too long and the battery died naturally.
Essentially, yeah. which is not the greatest thing to do to a lithium-ion battery anyway. But, ooh, this one feels tighter. Oh, no. Maybe I just went from the wrong side. I have to get through that layer of skin first. Okay, no, this is a tighter one.
Gross.
There we go. Let's get the thumb in there first, and then carefully. All right, well, we get the thumb out, and then we get the thumb back in again.
Good. Do the hokey pokey.
Turn the whole thing around. Okay, there we go. Now, if I can hold it. Ah! I guess this is why surgeons have nurse assistants and other assistants. Nurse, spudger. 50 cc's of cider, stat.
All right. Now that the batteries in my wireless headphones are replaced, let's get this guy's coronary bypass complete.
Yeah. Now we've got music, the all-important tunes. Okay, so I know what I need to do.
I'm hoping you're going to open this up and the battery's going to be like a lot smaller. Like, oh, what? That's why.
God, I feel like I'm in I feel like I'm in the Force Awakens every time I go through this particular procedure. It's absolutely a case of I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I'm strong enough. Okay. Turns out I was. Ooh, okay, not a bad separation that time.
A little bit of the foam came off there.
You know what? What I could probably do in the future is I don't think I actually ended up cracking any of the clips on this one, but I could probably. Oh, I could absolutely do that. Here's my thought process. Print off some new versions of these things. Or get them machined in some way. Like, they can even just be flat for all I care. And then just drill extra holes here and here. Get some screws that are slightly extended in length. And then you could just
so they go all the way through.
screw right from the outside. Yeah.
Ooh. I was thinking, the battery being glued in and various things. Because, of course, in operation... the whole point of these things is that they're in operation, they're vibrating, right? So I imagine they do need to be pretty careful in terms of, they've got that little bit of foam in there and all this kind of, like you want to make sure there's no components that are going to rattle inside there when you hit a bass note or something weird like that. I guess they probably have to, like, when you're making headphones or anything like that, you have to, like, make sure that you're not accidentally... None of the materials you're using are accidentally like the harmonic frequency of.
Oh wow!
Of certain. That was that. What was that? That like was it Janet Jackson song that broke computers?
Yeah. Oh god, because of the hard drive interference.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was like harmonic interference on the hard drive.
Yes. That was fascinating. I'm sure that's all part of the standard anechoic chamber testing procedures. Okay. Let's get that in there. There we go. Easy peasy. No adhesy. Curses.
Or there's a viral video or a video from very early in the internet of people yelling at server closets. It was just this place that was like a very high-end server rack mount. And they're saying, hey, check this out, something we just noticed. And they go over to like this, server that's in a giant server cage. And it's, 80 hard drives all spinning and stuff, and he just yells at it, and it shows like the graph of performance, and they drop as
Really? I would have not expected that. Now
you have to talk gently to your hard drives.
I'd just like to see more exotic speaker systems show up in headphones in general. 'Cause you've got things like the Stacks, which is that the high-end headphones with the electrostatic sheet form of speaker.
Oh, right. It's like sort of a what do you call it? Solid state system.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But what I'd love to see is a pair of headphones that get brave enough to put a plasma tweeter inside the cup with you.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the headphones that need to be brave at that point.
Which company has the stones and the legal team to replace or to release the plasma tweeter headsets?
Future Tinker Tailor solder fry video.
Paul, it's in the list. Plasma tweeter is in the list for some point in the future.
I can see the thumbnail now of like, somebody doing like a YouTube face with like electricity going through their head or something.
Oof. As long as it's not me. The electricity I can handle. It's the YouTube face that's really the issue. Hello. Did you become... There we go. Always make sure your screws are actually engaged in a hole before you stick them in the screw hole and push the button. Okay, that looks like
Bada bing, bada boom.
everything's done. Let's just make sure that we've got everything clipped up. That's nice and clean. This one, do the same thing. Wow, that was no time whatsoever there. Let's get these into the machine. Okay, and then we need to press and hold until it starts to flash and then stops flashing again. Okay, whoop. So it should be getting a flash on that side, but for some reason it's not. Let's try this side. Oh, okay, that's...
I see a light on the front.
Okay, here we go. We're getting the flash. Faster flash. Off. Okay. Well, I'm just going to plug these into my head and see what happens.
Now, would those batteries have been charged in the...
Yep. I'm hearing battery about 50%. Let's see what the app says. It's saying it's got 30% power in this device. Oop. And 50% on both the headphones. So let's just hit the button. Okay, and then I think they're working.
So they didn't. So the batteries. I guess they've been sitting in that bag for a while, so they're not necessarily fully charged.
Yeah, usually they say you're best off to let your battery stay at about 50% to 60% charge. So I guess that,
But theoretically, putting them into the case now will be charging them up.
yes. And then I guess, yeah, I guess we'll then see later on whether or not these the battery inside the case needs a replacement as well. But by God, that was probably one of the easiest replacements I've ever done of any kind.
I mean, to be honest, like I said, I've got AirPods. I got them probably around the same time you got, like, around the beginning of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I probably don't use them as much as you use yours, but I have noticed that they've, they still last for a reasonable amount of time, but it's definitely less than it was before. And after seeing that, to be honest, I'm tempted to go for these ones next if replacing the battery is really that easy.
Yeah, or if you can even find them too, that's the other question.
Oh, are those not made anymore? That particular brand?
They were unused. They were unused, or not unused. They were on their way out when I purchased them. There was already a new version out.
Which is not as replaceable?
You know what? I didn't even bother checking. Once I found the right one, I should check into that though.
Our new Sony True Wireless X5000 headphones with new fully filled with epoxy technology.
Yeah, I think it's just a case of checking. Put the type of headphones you want to buy into eBay with the word battery, and if you get something back, you're okay.
Ah, that's a good tip.
Good tip as well from Not Keen or Able for not putting both batteries in the same bag. That could have been a nice short
because
circuit.
then they'll go together. Right.
Yep.
You need to keep them separate.
But I think that all told, the cost for batteries, I believe, was around $20 for that.
To make a pair of, couple $100 earbuds like new.
Yep.
Well,
I mean,
except for the aforementioned,
yes.
ear stuff.
That said, now that I know I can get the electronics out, maybe I'll just pop them all open and stick the whole things in the ultrasonic cleaner. It's really good. All right. Well, you know what? That's the first bit of Tinker Tailor Solder Fry. We're going to take a short break here and get some equipment here, and we'll be back with a bit more headphone repair, though not electronic. Don't go all the way away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Tinker Tailor Solder Fry here on the mighty Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network. Wow, forgot a word there. My name's Ian Horner, and we are continuing with some headphone repair. I figured we were incredibly successful in the first half of the program where we replaced the batteries in these little things. Yes, wireless earbuds. You can replace the batteries sometimes. Check the internet for details.
Yes. Check your own wireless. Yeah, not all, but some.
Mm-hmm. That said, bad things can happen to other headphones too, and that's what's happened here with these. Our trusty, one of our trusty pairs of Senel SMH1000s, the venerable Sony 7506, yeah, SM7506 replacements, with the added bonus of the replaceable cord.
Now, and if you've watched, these are one of the pair of headphones that we have in Studio A.
Mm-hmm. Pull that zoom out just a bit here.
Yeah, yes, we're not dealing with quite such a small thing. And if you've seen certain streams in Studio A, I would say we're a little tough on our headphones.
Yeah, we're not the most gentle, but
lots of different people in there. Lots of different things happening.
Attitudes, yeah. But we're fair to our equipment, and there's one issue with the Senels that I'm not a fan of. Otherwise, these would be basically fantastic, perfect headphones. But your audio is sent via comes into the headphone, goes through a little bit of circuitry, and then comes out to this cable, which then passes all the way across your headphones through to the other side and into the other cup. The problem is that because the headphones fold in so many different places and move around, there's a lot of opportunity for these cables to get caught underneath here and jam up.
And again, lots of different people,
Yep.
Resizing them all
Yep.
the time to different sizes for different heads.
Yeah, you find they do get bigger that way, but then it starts to
So,
apply pressure there. So
I mean, what's the alternative?
the alternative is doing everything inside and not allowing your making
Right,
this
I guess
into-
have the. But then, how do you make it extend? If
Mm.
it's inside? I mean, that's where the tricky part comes.
Yeah, I guess extra things, or you can just build the conductivity into the housing itself.
Ooh, that'd be
maybe.
cool. Or two wires, I guess, also would work.
Regardless, we're going to bust these open and see if there's a easy way for us to put some new wiring in. I think there is. Let's find out together.
That's why it says "Let's try" program.
Exactly. We've already succeeded, so no one can take that part of the show away from us.
Although, yeah, I mean, to be honest, like the wireless earbud replacement thing, that could just almost be used as like a tutorial on how to do that. I mean, it was just in and out, no problem.
Such a straightforward system.
I mean, normally if you're watching like a tutorial on YouTube, you wouldn't want to be a person who had never actually done that before, but still.
Oh God, and the more I think about it, it actually was really very much a YouTube essay. I started off talking about my own experiences, and a lot of uninteresting and unuseful information, and then got
That if you're when you actually like have broken headphones, you're like, come on, fast forward.
show me how to do it.
Oh no, we have become that which.
Which we most disliked in ourselves. Oh my.
Nice to see some screws and stuff in these, though.
Yeah. Well, this is interesting to me personally because these are my own one of the two sets I regularly use at home of headphones, and mine hasn't gotten to this point yet, but it has. I have got some crimpage in these wires, and I often wonder how long is it going to be before that just no longer is going to work for me. Okay.
We do also have some like ear pad replacements that we could put on there, but yeah. So these are the Sonell's the B&H photo house brand, if you don't know, and these were deliberately made to be almost exactly the same as the Sony.
Yes.
What was it? 7506. 7506. Yeah, they were designed to be almost exactly the same in terms of acoustic reproduction and also physical shape.
Incredibly flat sounding and
And then they just charge $20 less for them or whatever.
is the idea. So.
But we use them. Yeah, we use these headphones or the Sonys in most studios.
Yeah, we expected that having the replacement cord would cover most of our issues.
They're a good balance of quality and sound quality, sound isolation, and comfort.
Yeah, I particularly like them for how flat the response curve is on them.
Right. That's sort of ostensibly the idea with them being sort of
Studio monitors.
quote unquote studio monitors is that they're. I mean, I think that's to some extent kind of a marketing thing, but there is an aspect of that the idea behind a studio like a studio monitor style headphone is that they are as flat a response curve as in they reproduce all frequencies as equally as possible to be better for studio work as opposed to say listening to music or something where you might want to have more bass or something.
Yeah, there's a reason that they're issued to film students their first year as a standard issue thing. Okay. How do we get under there? That said, there's another headphone much like this. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but they're German, and they look industrial.
Das Headphone.
Basically, yeah. They look kind of like what you'd expect to see at a at an industrial record store. But they have a very similar sound profile to the 7506s as well, with just a titch more bass.
Are they a little bit more, like, built a little more solidly?
They are built such that you could run over them with a truck, and they'd be fine. And so that's why I'm quite interested in them. But okay, how does that come out?
As another point of information, the headphones I am currently wearing are Sennheiser HD 280 Pro headphones, and the reason why I wear these are for studio. These are sort of specifically got for Studio C here, as opposed to the other studios, because Studio C is the main studio where we have the position that I'm in here of tech, as opposed to people running their own streams. And these Sennheiser headphones are more sound isolating than the other ones.
Very good at isolation.
So if Ian's mic is turned off, I actually can't hear him very well when I'm wearing these.
I've run into just now my favorite piece of construction about these headphones. So I took off the R sticker because I figured there might be a screw underneath there that I need to remove.
Wait, make sure you mark which side is the R side.
Well, Paul, they already thought of that. Underneath where the sticker goes, it's just embossed into the plastic.
Oh, that's nice.
I am so impressed with that. I'm going to put the sticker back now, but... Yep. That's the sort of thing that, yeah, they wouldn't need to do.
So if that sticker, like, falls off or whatever,
Yeah.
you still got the... Of course, even with the sticker, I almost inevitably put them on backwards.
On the wrong side?
Yeah. Until I'm like half an hour into playing a video game, and I'm like, why can't I? What? Oh, that's where it is. Turn headphones around and be like, oh, I've been trying to find this stupid thing based on sound.
So, what I'm getting hung up on right now is this piece right here, which appears to, there's a screw for it, but it appears to just not want to pop off. And I'm not sure why. I absolutely don't want to crack it if I can help, but it is the piece that is holding the... it just pulls off. Wow. Yeah, it just pulls off. Great. And then that comes out like that, and then that frees this cable, which is what I've been trying to free this whole time. So I think the cable goes up along the inside of the headphone.
Right.
Which is going to be difficult for us to deal with, but...
Presumably it's underneath all the padding, like, and there's no way to remove the padding, really.
Yeah, not in a
non-destructive way.
It's interesting to actually see how these things are put together, too, actually. Aha! Now we're getting somewhere. We may actually be able to do this.
So floppy.
Okay, so we got the headband off. Let's see about getting this piece off. So if we can just thread some cables through there, that would be pretty darn easy.
Do you happen to have any wire that might be appropriate?
I do, in fact. We'll have to run 2 wires, but I think that's not a problem.
Wait, isn't it just one wire that needs to go from one headphone to the other?
2, because 1 for the signal, 1 for ground.
Oh, right.
Okay, I can also put some of this back together immediately before I forget how it goes. Specifically this bit. Right, so that goes up here. Through the hole. And then there. This piece. Aha! And then there's a spring and a ball bearing. And the ball bearing, where does it go?
Oh, that's what does the little clicky when you extend it.
I believe so, yeah. How come I've only got one of those ball bearings in? Well, just screw that in then. You go back together now. Actually, I'm going to open up the other one just to make sure that I've got this one put together right too. Yeah, because there is no ball bearing in there, that's just the plastic, right. Now, where did that bearing come from then?
Wait, we have an extra ball bearing?
Or we have one, we have either have an extra one or we have too few. Oh no, I think they connect on that side. No, that's where the screw holes go on 2 sides. Yeah, the ball bearing and spring, I guess, go in there. So I think we were missing one ball bearing, is what was going on. There we go. Okay, so those arms back together. That screw up there. Hydration in me. Okay, now the question is how to get these open. I think I need to take the speaker cups off, but that's fine. I think they're due for a replacement anyway.
I think we have some replacement
There we
pads.
go.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I've also got the leather ear cups for mine, and I've found that the edge of them goes away before the actual cup starts to wear away. But I was replacing the ear cups on one of Corey's set of headphones, a Sennheiser HD 518, I think. And the foam in them had degraded to the point where it was no longer acting like foam and no longer acting like the kind of foam that just, turns to dust when you touch it. It was now, I guess, the combination of skin oil and time had caused it to turn into this sort of grease that when you would push, rub it between your thumb and forefinger, it wouldn't crumble to dust. It would just smear across your finger.
Ian.
Yes.
Behind the mat, like between you and the mat,
I see it. Thank
a
you.
Little ball bearing. Yeah.
We got there. Now we're no longer missing them. Thank you.
Chat saw it on the overheads camera, so
nice
there we go.
Work. It also tells me we can hide nothing from them, so. This is actually, honestly, one of my favorite things to do is just disassembling things in a way that you can reassemble them. just to see how things are put together and what can be fixed, what can be replaced, etc. Like here, this is interesting to find that this is some very bad foam that's going. But there's not much to the actual speaker in these things. That's your driver.
Oh, wow.
That's not much. And very, very small cables. But I'm happy to report that the... what's the best way to do this? A way that won't yank any of these cables. There's a circuit board there. And it's got our connectors extremely easily accessible right there on the board.
Cool.
So, yeah, Paul, I get the feeling we're going to actually have a set of working headphones by the time we're done with this.
All right. I'm excited.
Me too. I like fixing things.
Yeah, I was gonna say I actually have the issue that we have here with that cable frame because of the mobility of the headphones, which is a nice feature of them that they can be folded up and so forth. That issue is also in the Sony. Like that's not a that's a issue that Sanal copied from the Sony headphones, and I have a pair of the Sony.
7506s?
Yeah, the 7506s at home. And I've noticed not the fraying, but just the connection of that little wire
that
to the
started
thing.
to pull out a bit.
Yeah, the sheath on it has started to pull out a little bit. So
I've just noticed that's something that looks like Senel has dealt with by simply just knotting the cord on the inside of the cup.
there's a literal knot.
Yep. Sometimes that's all strain relief needs to be, is just a knot. I think what I'm going to do is desolder the wire and then find out how much wire we need, run it through, and then that'll work. So, it's great.
I feel like that's like a bunch of engineers sitting around trying to figure out what to do, and then, some old fisherman comes by and he's like, well, what you need is a knot right
Just
there.
a knot. This is what happens when all your kids are just off at computer camp and no one's joining the scouts.
Yeah, doesn't that kind of crimp the wire though?
Less so, I guess, than the other parts that are being crimped. As we can see here, the knot inside was not the point of failure.
It's true. It's true.
Just need to find. Good gosh, how did they tie that together? Need to get out my 12-volt power supply. 4-year soldering iron.
Of course, the annoying part is, I was realizing, I was like, oh, I should probably test these. Oh no.
Paul, can I ask you a favor?
Sure.
Could you find a 12-volt barrel adapter power supply that fits that hole?
How many amps?
As many as you can.
Let's see what I can find.
Thank you.
You brought the wrong.
No. This was just another plug I found in the plugs area. While you're doing that, I'm going to attempt to find out how much. Actually, I'm just going to clip some wires here, and then figure out how much wire we need and start running that. I think. So let's clip that there. So why are you not clipping cleanly? Oh wow, there's a lot of string in those cables. Interesting. And let's clip it on that side as well. And so, why did I not clip it on the other side of the knot? Yes, reinforcement. It's just a little bit of extra fabric in the wire that again supports the cable from too much stretch.
So this is 800 milliamps.
That might be enough. It doesn't need to be.
I think the USB doesn't work.
Well, the USB does work, but we need to find something that provides enough amperage on the USB. But I guess, yeah, 800 is about as much as the USB is going to give us. There we go. That.
I guess unlike usual, like usually when you're like just trying to use some random wall wart power supply, the thing you're worried about is like you're going to put too much power through it and burn it out.
Mm-hmm.
But if the
this
thing that
case-
you're powering is a soldering iron, putting too much power in it is not a huge concern, I guess.
All it does is turn electricity into heat. I mean, let's be honest. That's to a certain extent that's my job too. But
I remember I was looking. This thing was talking about like a heating system for a house, and they were like, this is a much more efficient heating system than the standard like electrical thing. And they talking about all the good stuff about it, and somebody in the comments was like, I get that this is a better way of distributing the heat, but heating systems are inherently 100% efficient. Like,
yeah,
the problem, how you measure efficiency is how much of it gets turned into heat. But if heat is the objective, then that's
it's working as intended.
yeah.
All right. I think what we're going to do here is replace this with a bit of silicone wire. And, I don't want to get two of them here. So let's go with, I don't know, let's go red and blue. Or yellow and blue. Yeah, we don't use yellow and blue often enough. And it's on brand for us. So I guess what we need is, let's go there, plus another 3 or 4 inches, because we can always just hide it inside of our.
Is this braided core or solid core stuff?
This is silicone wrapped, just stranded wire.
Stranded. Okay. Because I think the one that's in there already is stranded, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it appears to be, or at least twisted strands. Oh hey, cool! I did not intend that, but Ukraine strong. Okay, and then another few inches for slop, and another inch or so for knotting. Because, well, how do we get this wire through the headband, right? Well, the easiest way to do that, because we already have something that's going through the headband.
Just
Is-
tie it to the.
Exactly.
It's just like fishing a cable through a wall.
Yeah. Let's just make sure that I do it in such a way that it will actually work.
Here in the moon base, we have a couple of places where we have cables fished in the wall, like HDMI cables. We've got Ethernet and stuff in the walls as well, but we've got a few places, like for instance the monitor that's behind Ian, and the monitor that's on the other side of the set, and things where they're powered by HDMI that we fished through the wall, just because when we set up this studio, we were like, hey, could we get an HDMI port there? Which is super nice. And we had one of the HDMI cables die on us because HDMI cables
does that.
Yeah. But what you can do is just you can use the dead HDMI to fish a new one through.
Just don't take it out beforehand. Yeah, unfortunately, I was in 4-H and not Scouts, so my knotting skills are Well, I mean, it's right there in the name. They are not. But that feels like that's good enough to be able to pull everything through. So, let's do that. Ugh. Let's see if we can even, I don't know, kind of open it up on the inside a bit while we sound this ridiculous knot through.
I don't know if sound is the correct term for that.
Well, we'll be told very quickly by the chat, I'm sure. Okay, that went through rather easily.
Boom. If nothing else, we have a sling now.
Yeah.
Can use to fight off any giants that come by.
Giants or Persian kings, is it? Is that Saul? Did David fight Saul?
No, Goliath.
Okay, yes, good. Right, no, David had to collect things to give to Saul for his wife.
So I do like it's like, let us remember the great tale of David versus Saul. Doesn't have quite the same.
Well, yeah, I mean, it doesn't ring out that well, but let's be honest, the man had to collect 100 foreskins of the Philistines in order to impress Saul so that he could marry his daughter.
It's true.
It's a pretty impressive feat. Like, killed a giant or collected 100 foreskins.
I mean, I guess it depends on what the Philistines had to say about the whole
That's a
thing.
very good point.
Yeah, the old fetch quest.
As long as the answer wasn't please no, I think we're good.
They ran out of bare asses, so they were like, oh, well, here's the next best thing.
Yeah. Okay, this is going to be the issue here. If there is an issue, it's how to get both of these cables through the holes that are currently extant in the cups.
Right, because they're quite small. It's quite a small cable in there now. Now, theoretically, once those two are hooked up, even before they're reassembled, we should be able to plug one in and get some sound going.
That's the idea.
Although, I was actually thinking about this when I was going to test these, is that, I used to, of course, be able to test headphones and things by plugging them into my phone. But
Not so much.
yeah, just I don't actually have on there isn't that just like a device that will make music or sound and has a headphone jack on it that I can quickly plug in. Have to plug it into like the mixer here or the something.
Funnily enough, Paul, I actually had this similar internal monologue with myself just the other day as we were filming something. They'll be available for view later on this week on Loading Ready Run. Stay tuned for Loading Ready Live on Saturday.
Ooh.
This seems to be working fine enough. Just using a screw bit as a makeshift drill bit to extend these holes just a bit.
Wow.
Or sorry, just a titch. I'm using bit too much in that sentence. I know there are other versions of this screwdriver that are available with drill bit options.
Have a little bit more torque to them.
Well, this actually has adjustable torque as well. I've got it on auto right now, but I could dial it down if I needed to. But I mean, just for pin vicing stuff.
I love that. Yeah, it's a screwdriver. It's a screwdriver that has like firmware updates.
Yeah. And can play Tetris.
Oh, good. Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, looks like an incredible upcoming film. I'm really kind of excited for that.
It does look quite... It's a film, not a TV series.
Yes, yeah. I thought it was going to be... I was... I like the work Apple does on their TV series. And so I was kind of hoping for a TV series, but...
They've done a couple of films that are quite good as well.
Yeah.
Was it Greyhound? Was the sort of military ships one that was quite good.
Oh yes,
With
yes.
Tom Hanks?
Yeah. They're just a dang good little studio.
They're just so gosh darn cute.
Oh yeah. Oh Apple, you just keep doing what you're doing, eh? Don't let anyone tell you different.
Yeah, I mean, I've quite enjoyed quite a few things on there actually.
Ooh, actually, this is relevant to people who follow me directly. Hey, if you've been following me and my the things that I like in terms of media, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of the Ends of the Earth trilogy, better known as the Three Body Problem trilogy. And the mainland China version of that series is currently up on the Viki streaming service. Viki.
I am not familiar with that.
I was not either until this point. I was also not aware that there was a second production of Three Body going on out there, that it was not the Netflix production. And we watched the first episode of that last night, Corey and I, and I'm quite impressed so far. It looks really good.
Neat. I do love all these, the proliferation of all these streaming platforms. They all have to come up with different names and stuff.
Yeah.
And especially here in Canada, because we tend, because we don't have like Hulu and some of the bigger ones. And so I remember talking to my brother who's living in the States, and he was like, "Oh, this is on Hulu. You should check it out." I'm like, "Oh no." What about Hoopla? Is it on Hoopla?
No, we don't have Hoopla either.
What about
What about Bebo?
yeah.
I say that thinking to myself that, oh, right, that is a real one. That's just the one that sounds the fakest. I like Gem, just the name, for our CBC.
Yeah, Gem is pretty solid.
Because especially because not enough people realize that that's the name for the logo. It's the CBC Gem.
Yeah, right.
It's nice to have that extra bit of history. Although, recent developments from within the CBC that apparently they're looking to get out of the broadcast media business and go entirely streaming. And as a public broadcaster, I disagree with that.
Also, that's the B in their name.
Yes. It's literally what they're supposed to be doing.
Is that working?
The answer is yes. Here we go. Watch. Thrill! As numbers go up.
Okay. Oh, wow. It's going up quite quickly. Is the screwdriver and this soldering iron made by the same people?
These ones, no. I did have one that was Miniware, is the people who make the screwdriver. And they also make their own USB-powered soldering iron, which I also purchased. But it had a manufacturing defect. And it was noticed only just outside of the warranty period. And their response to me was, "We will send you a new body at full price." Well, okay. You know what?
That's a little disappointing.
It really is. So that was my cue to say, okay, well, you know what? If I have to buy a new one, let's try the one that's actually fully open sourced and has a nicer cases too, honestly. And importantly, uses standard Weller tips. That was the difference between this one and the Miniware version. The Miniware version used tips that would plug in using a standard mini jack, which is really interesting as an interface. I love the way that they just don't care what the port's for. We're going to use it how we want to use it. Okay, so red and ground. And yes.
I've seen that before with other things that, like, it turns out that the TRS port the mini jack TRS thing is actually like, a totally good connector if you need to connect two wires to something in a nice easy way. It happens to work really well.
Much like the DB connectors for serial and VGA. They're just a good connector.
And obviously they're associated with sound, but there's no particular reason why it has to be sound that's going through it.
Mm-hmm. I will not shut up about my usage of the HDMI plugs in some of the projects I've used that have needed multi-wire connectors.
Yeah, that was kind of a revelation to me, like when I was a kid, the idea that like the stuff inside the wire, for all these different kinds of cables is actually like basically the same.
Mm-hmm.
So that like you can just put a different end on it, and now suddenly it's changes from a RCA cable to a component or whatever.
That was the big revelation to me too. It was when I first started looking at the Nintendo connectors and thinking like, I want a controller for my computer, but I can't get one because it's the early days and it's a Mac and they don't exist. But thinking to myself, okay, well, I mean, there's up, down, left, right, so that's 4. Start, select, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the number of buttons on there. Mm-hmm. But there's not 8 wires in this controller plug. What's going on?
That's when things get tricky.
Yep. Encoding is fun.
I remember I was or something I've actually done a couple times here in the office is, like I mentioned, we've got Ethernet, of course, going all around the office and going to our hub and everything, as you would expect in an office environment. But what do you know? Ethernet, it's just wires. And you can get these things called, it's called like a balun or
oh yeah, the balloons. Yeah.
An audio balloon or
however it's pronounced.
Yeah. You can, an Ethernet cable is 8 twisted pairs.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can actually send 4 high quality audio signals down a
standard
Ethernet cable.
Cat5 cable.
Yeah. And so I've done it a few times where you folks at home know the approximate layout of the Moonbase here, where I've sent microphones from Studio A through the Ethernet jack in Studio A to Studio C here to the mixing board.
I mean, that's the whole concept behind power over Ethernet too, isn't it? Just use 2 of those lines to send 12 volts of power.
Right, because a typical Ethernet cable doesn't actually use, like an Ethernet connection doesn't actually use all 8 twisted pairs.
Mm-hmm. It can, but it doesn't have to. God, what was the other one? That always, anytime you talk about using extra wires like that, that always reminds me of the early days of local talk back in the Apple II and early Macintosh days. When
that was just like SDI cable, basically, wasn't it?
It wasn't even SDI cable. That was phone when you
it was like
phone net adapters.
Right.
And the beauty of the phone nets wasn't just that they were able to use a phone connector, but that any 2 conductive systems, conductive wires would work. So there were some schools out there that were literally sending network information between buildings by connecting to the steam pipes.
Just like copper pipes.
Yep, they'd break out the wire from the phone net adapter and one on the 2 sides.
I can't have like super high bandwidth.
Oh, no, it was noisy as hell, but it worked. That's the thing.
Because, I mean, phone wire is just Ethernet, but with only 4 twisted pairs, right, instead of 8?
I think you can go up to 6 in RJ40. I can never remember the RJ numbers.
Yeah, it's RJ45 is Ethernet.
Yeah, that's the thick boy. Is it RJ11?
Yeah, I think you're right, RJ11.
lost all my heat. Damn it.
I don't know how. And then there's, of course, power line networking and stuff. I don't quite know how that works, but.
That's an interesting one too, because it is just 2 wires, and very close to the cable internet standard. I think is what it uses.
Oh yeah.
Similar restriction. You only had 2 wires to deal with, but
I love that like cable internet is this just incredible hack on they had this system of, it's like, okay, we've got cable going to everybody's house. We've spent hundreds of millions, billions of dollars in 100 years rolling out this system.
We have an network.
Now we've got to figure out how to send internet over this. Well, we've got a system. We were planning to do digital cable. So the system is all designed to send video frames. What if we take every piece of data that is going up and down this cable and enclose it in a video frame?
That's madness, but it worked.
And put a modem on either end to encode and decode. It's like, what?
Yeah, if you told me this at any point in history other than when it happened.
And the reason why cable tends to be slower on the upload than on the download is that when you're doing cable, when you're watching TV, it's primarily download coming to you. So that's how the thing was designed. And the upload is actually just like the part of the cable that was originally designed for like diagnostic tests.
Yep.
And then they just when they started getting up into the multi high speed, multi-gigabyte
multi-link things.
then they're literally bonding like 4 connections together.
Yep.
Presumably they're reaching the limit of what they can do on that. But
especially when you're looking at the amount of people that need to be on the same thing. That was always the issue with cable, was that over DS or as opposed to DSL, was that it was
right, as more people got on, it slowed down.
Yeah.
Is that it's cooling down way too fast? Is that the problem?
It's that it keeps popping out of the back.
Oh, I see.
So, actually, there's an easy fix for that right here. Low tech fix.
Haha.
Now you can't get out. Okay, now I just need nothing. I don't need anything. I need this to get hot.
Right.
Ah, the Balin? Okay, that's cool.
It's interesting because it's like yes, it does that because you're sending a balanced XLR signal down an unbalanced cable, but like it's interesting that it's like yes, it does do that, but like that's not the interesting part of what it does. But I guess that's just how the terminology works. That's just
adding some flex here so that we can hopefully make this these connections a little bit easier.
So this is your right now you're trying to solder the far side, right? Like the side that comes from the others.
Yeah, the non-jacked side.
Yeah.
Which is to say jacked in the sense that it has a jack, not that it has become jacked. The English language is... the English language is fine and worth fighting for. I believe in neither of those parts.
To be fair, though, like, a lot of it isn't the English language's fault. We've messed it up a lot.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We've not been kind to the language.
Like, the fact that the word jack means like 10 different things that's really on us.
Yeah.
It didn't start out that way.
Oh, Arclight Dynamo's bringing out one of my favorite words in space travel, the Balut. A parachute slash re-entry burn-away technology that
So it's like a parachute that burns away?
well, it's an inflatable parachute. Inflatable parachute, balloon plus parachute. So the idea is that it's like a heat shield that inflates and becomes a balloon in front of.
Cool.
Yeah, and then also the buoyancy of it keeps provides parachute-like functionality, slowing you down. And what was cool about it was that it was only part of science fiction for the longest time.
I think they really missed out on calling it a balloon-a-chute. Deploy the balloon-a-chute.
Well, you can talk to Tomino-san about that yourself then. Yellow was the color I was going to use for our signal. So let's get that. There we go. Now we're starting to melt. That's a good one.
See, the problem here, there wasn't, the reason why the headphones weren't working is the smoke got out. So now we're putting some smoke back in.
As you can see, I need to blow at the smoke to keep the smoke inside as much as possible.
Yeah, we need to, when we insert more smoke into the headphones, then that'll start working.
Okay, so that is positive. Yellow goes to red.
Okay. Sure.
As long as we're consistent about it.
The wires don't know what color they are. They don't care.
The wire knows what color it is because it knows what color it isn't.
Ooh.
All right, that is actually probably the last of the soldering we need to do.
Alrighty.
Now it's just cleanup time. Paul, we're getting too good at our jobs here right now.
Let's see. Let's test it before we get to
Yes. Oh, right. Speaking of which, did we ever find an audio source to test with?
I mean, I can't just plug it into the board here, but it would be nice if there was something more useful.
Oh, yes, we do actually have a few. I believe some of the older iPad minis should have a headphone jack in them still.
That's true. Let me just grab one.
Thank you.
In fact, I think like present day iPads have headphone
I
jacks.
think you're right.
I mean, with iPad, there's enough room to put that. I guess. I don't know.
Honestly, I was really happy with the work that, or with not the work, but that Apple chose to put headphone jacks, not just headphone jacks, but high impedance headphone jacks in their Pro laptops in the last round. It's a nice acknowledgement that there are people out there the people who do pro work sometimes need to use professional equipment, in the sense that equipment that is not 100% wireless all the time. Okay. That feels off. It's because it is off. Thank you. Perfect. And there's
YouTube there.
yeah, there's some checkpoints. That means I can play that without getting us demonetized.
Which, by the way, if you haven't seen this week's episode of Checkpoint, you should. It's a very special. It is our 500th episode.
500 episodes. You guys have been doing that for like, what, a year now?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And so for the 500th episode, we didn't actually do any new news. What we did is we went back to episode 1 of Checkpoint, and the whole episode, this 500th episode is an update on all of the stories that we did in episode 1 of Checkpoint.
Oh, what? And there's enough updates to go around?
Well, we check in. We check in with those stories, see how they did. see how they're doing. Some of them not so good. Some couple of the companies involved no longer exist.
Whoops. Okay. Well, I mean that's that makes the reporting easy. Alrighty, let's get that in there. Boy, headphones sure are weird when you just
I know.
bring them
right?
down to their
Yeah.
component parts.
It really, really illustrates how they're actually. It's like, wait, they're just speakers that are attached to your head.
There are no chips in this. There was one board for as a breakout for the jack. Which
Right,
is a
and
smart
that's
idea.
it. Yeah, there's no intelligence in there.
Nope.
I guess any like tuning or anything is just done on the actual physical, like how they build the cones and stuff.
Guys, I guess that's how you want it to be, because then you can do the frequency curve and spit that out to people to work against. Okay.
Wait, oh, is the sound actually turned on? Okay.
Today.
Currently nothing. Let's make sure that I'm getting a signal of any sort. So let's get out the old multimeter. We should also check our continuities and whatnot.
I mean, we could get another pair of those headphones too. Just plug that in.
That could work too. That might be easier, but all right. That. That's probably very low voltage. Huh. Yeah, maybe another pair of headphones might be a good idea just to double check. But we are getting some voltage there, so let's start unscrewing, because we're going to need to do that again. Find out what my problem is. Whoop, whoop. And let's stop Beej in his discussion. Go. The nice thing about troubleshooting simple components is that they are as simple as they are. All right, let's leave that as is. Let's just start with continuity. Simple, simple. This cable shouldn't be chewed up at all, but you know what? That's a fine idea. Let's double test that first. Because if this is hosed, then... Okay. Bottom to bottom. Okay, tip to tip is... Good. Okay.
Annoyingly, the other headphones in Studio A are actual Sonys, which means they don't have the cable that can be unplugged.
Hey, you know what, though? I think it's actually...
Is that cable actually messed up?
Yes, I believe this cable is the one that is hosed.
The coily cable?
Yep.
Is it possible that the other part was never actually a problem in the first place?
Oh God, there's a good chance of that, Paul.
I mean, it was all like weird and frayed anyway.
Yeah.
But
It'll look nice when we put it back together.
weird.
Because yeah, I'm doing a continuity test, and we're getting continuity on the tip, but nothing on the ring, and nothing on the sleeve.
Now, is that just a headphone extension cable, or can it just be replaced by another headphone extension
Yes. Yeah. In fact,
cable? Or is it a...
sorry, it's not an extender. It's It's got the 2.5 millimeter on one side and the 3.5 millimeter on the other side.
Oh, okay, so it's 2.5. So it's
Yep.
not just something that we can grab.
Well, it is something we can very easily order from online. I know that the what is it? Sennheiser headphones also use that same sort of external thing. But honestly, I'm just going to check my continuities here because if this is good. And actually, let's test off of the cable itself here. So, tip goes to tip. Huh. So that tip should be going to the far. But yeah, ground is good to good. I think
Thought it might have a 2.5 inch somewhere, or 2.5 millimeter.
we don't. Oh well. Well, I believe that this is hooked up the way it's supposed to be. In fact, actually, there's easy ways to check that. Let's just check our ins here. That's good.
I mean, you got a pair of headphones, and first one ear stops working, and then the whole thing stops working. And there's little thin wires attached to the ear cups, and they're obviously frayed. You think that would be an easy thing to diagnose.
Enough. Okay, I feel confident that everything in here is hooked up the way it's supposed to be.
All right.
So I'm just going to button it up.
Yeah, so I guess now the trick is trying to put it back together.
Mm-hmm. Which, well, let's hope.
Found that extra ball bearing.
Yes, that's good. And we did extend the size of the holes for the wires, so we're kind of locked into this. All right, let's. Oh, we've got something?
I think this is actually from one of those. It is. Huh.
Oh, is it one of the straights? Straight chords, I mean. It is. Good. Keep them around because they're come in handy every now and then. Okay, let's just plug that in there. Plug this one back in here. Yep, immediately.
Oh, for crap's sake. Okay.
Is it both headsets? Yeah, it is both heads. Just so you can all hear at home. It's a VBRO ad.
So the part of the headphones that we can easily replace in case it failed, which I guess is good.
Yes, because we decided to replace every other cable inside.
But now it's pretty for a long period of time, and we learned something about how they work.
Yes. We call this a product refurbishment.
That's true. And I mean, that cable was pretty frayed. So
And now it's a special edition.
exactly. Ooh. Limited edition, I would say.
Handmade artist edition. There we go.
Oh, artisanal.
I mean, there's one more piece that I need to do with this, but actually, yeah. Have you got a silver Sharpie handy there?
A silver Sharpie?
Mm-hmm.
I think I know where mine is.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm just thinking about how to make this a properly special edition. All right, these are going to go around the sides like that. Then they're going to come into here. Thusly, oh yeah, we got no problems here. Ah. Perfect, thank you. That means if we're going to do a proper special edition, special artist edition, we should be able to sign the...
This is the Ian Horner signature edition.
And there you go. Get the little maker's mark in there.
Nice.
Now this is, I think I've talked about this before, but this is something that I recently found out about plumbers. If you ever go underneath your sink or into the walls of your bathroom, like I have had to do, and you find some marks near your plumbing, like a C or an H with the number of X's next to it, well, that is a mark from a plumber who has been here previously and has worked on one of those two piping systems.
Is that CNH in cold and hot?
Correct. And that's a way to let other plumbers know that, hey, these systems have been worked on this many times.
So if you look under your like if you're at like going to buy a house and you look under the sink and it says like H with 12 X's beside it.
Yeah, you may want to
that's
reconsider.
a red flag right there.
A little bit, yeah. But yeah, I noticed a good number of X's next to my piping there, so we'll see how it goes in the future.
I feel like dedicated Twitch clippers could make a highlight reel of all the damage that have been done to these headphones during streams.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah. Okay, gotta make sure now that I'm getting it in the right area.
It's interesting. I love that the headphone band is like the foam, and then there's just like these two pieces of spring steel. Like it's not even like a solid.
Yeah, like I expected that this part would be the full arc, but this is just the adjustment layer. Honestly, this really gives me hope in possibly replacing the headband on mine.
Is the same thing on this happened to yours, where it's sort of
Oh,
gone away?
absolutely, yeah. But what I find interesting is you can buy replacement headphone things, but they're usually just like zip-up covers that go over top of them. Knowing that it is possible to get in here and actually stitch a new headband out of leather.
Whoa.
And then reassemble it is kind of special to me.
Yeah. Break out your leather crafting kit again.
Exactly.
I do like, if we look at the overhead shot, all the little black pieces all over all over the board right now. It's just
all
all the weird little bits of plasticky stuff that have come off those ear cups.
The
And
various and sundry detritus of it all. Okay, there's 2 pieces of plastic. And I think the idea is that you're supposed to go in between the 2 pieces of plastic. That feels much easier to go throughout. So let's get these in the middle. Oops. We're gonna put that there.
yeah, I mean, like as we said, we are definitely hard on our headphones, but I think any full-time streaming environment, especially when you have different people coming in and out.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
adjusting. I remember hearing you hear people who have worked or are currently working in radio talking about there's always like the third pair of headphones for the guest that's like the crappiest, like all the foam on the ear cups is all
Ugh.
stuff.
You absolutely do not want these ones.
But those are the ones that they save for the guest.
So I'm trying to decide if I want to... oh wait, I should make sure that these are the right side for which side they're on. Not that it actually matters, apparently. Okay, trying to remember how these go together. That goes in there. I think that goes up to there. Yeah, that feels right. Okay, those pieces go on there. Yep, now I see how this goes. So we need to get that out of there. This little spring goes in this hole. The bearing goes on top of that. And then we slide this down over top. And then we'll need to compress the bearing to get it into the hole. What's the best tool to use for that? I think a knife. Okay. There we go. Just about got it. We just need to get it over this hump. Come on.
Over the hill and through.
Ah! Okay. It's just a difficult position. It's really all it is. Get the ball down and then push the whole thing forward. Does it go over that? It does go over that, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. That's right. I don't think I'm doing this correctly. Yeah, you do need to go from the other side like that. Okay, so this goes on first. And then you have to assemble the whole system. There you go. So you bend these out like this. Then you can flip it around. Don't lose the bearing. Okay, and then where's the spring? Spring goes there. It just needs to go in the hole. I'm not even sure if you can see this, but this is... Wish I'd brought my tweezers for this, to be honest. Okay. Straight down. There we go. And then the ball goes on top of that. Aha, no! And the ball just Disappears. One more try. Spring. Ball. I'm sure I could get very... I could get very good at this if I was... Oh my gosh. Considering a career.
In headphone assembly?
Yeah, in headphone reassembly. Okay. Ah. Okay, let's be very clear about our movements here. So these need to come down. Let go of that. These go through those holes. And then we place that on there deliberately, yes. Push down on it so that it does not come out. And then we're going to move these back. Until you realize that you've had the thing on backwards the entire time. But luckily we now know what we're doing a bit better. So, bring these two in through the holes that they go into. One on that side. One on this side. Okay, you know what? I think we've got this now. Then just very carefully push that down. Never remove that portion again. Make sure it's there. Good, good. It's still there. Okay. Now we just need to screw these two bits in with the covering. So I'm not going to send the cable through the cable channel because the cable channel is too small now for that to occur.
Right.
But we can at least get this plastic bit on.
For our new fancy burly.
That's not in the hole. There it is. That's the hole. Okay, here we go. Okay, that's one. And then we just need to pull this one back just a bit. Grab the other screw. We might be done with this one. Oh, we are done with this. We've got clickage.
Nice.
Okay, so that's one side done. I'm just going to jam things in there. And now we need to do the same thing except in the opposite direction on this other side. And try not to, wow, tangle everything up completely. Okay, plastic's starting to get a bit hinky, so let's not worry too much about preserving that. But at least now we have a good way of figuring out how to get these in there. Let's make sure we've got the right bar on the right side. Not getting a cross crash situation. Good, 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 good. Everything looks good so far. Okay, get more we go. And those go on over top. Wait. Ah, I was so sure of myself. Okay, that goes like that. Yes. It goes through the holes like that. Yes. We have a sip. It's amazing, these little ball bearing dedent systems, how simple they are and how annoying they are to place.
I'm assuming probably when this is originally assembled, there's some sort of like jig that they use. To
Oh, that would be my
it all.
hope. Ah, there it is. I'm missing something here. Okie dokie. Through hole 1, through hole 2. Wait, I need to get it through here first. Right. And then up into the headphone body itself. Okay. And then we bring it out and place it down with the ball, with the bearing. I keep saying, or the ball. Not every steel ball is a ball bearing. All ball bearings contain balls, but not all bearings belong to balls.
What's the distinction?
Well, if it's a ball bearing, then it's a bearing that contains balls. If it's just a bunch of steel balls, then it's just a bunch of steel balls. What makes it a bearing is that it's circular and it assists with the...
Right. So this is not a ball bearing. This
Yes.
is just a regular ball.
Just a steel ball. Just a steel ball run. Nothing to be worried about.
Yeah, that is an odd thing that the thing itself as well is the same name as one of its constituent parts. Very annoying.
I think approaching this from a different side has really helped the assembly process. Okay, now...
That's a good point. A ball from a ball bearing would be a ball bearing ball.
Correct?
And if you needed a bearing to keep those balls apart from each other, then that would be ball bearing. And the balls inside those ones would be ball bearing. Anyway, you get the idea.
Ball. What we're saying is this bearing is all the way down.
Exactly.
Oh, no. Something's not gone right here with this connection.
Uh-oh.
I like that what's holding me back here right now is not anything electrical. It's just all this physical.
Having everything has to be very precisely placed before it gets tightened down.
Yeah.
Little interlocks.
Okay, that's all in position. Screw. And honestly, this isn't even really function. Well, not. It is functional, but it's not essential to the functioning of this device.
Mm.
hopefully I've got it tight enough. Oh, I think that one did it. Yep, that's a good connection. I just need to straighten this out.
So you just need to attach the cups to the sides.
Yep. And I'm also going to pull this piece of plastic right out. There we go. I need to tighten one of these sides up too, now that I see it. And by tighten, I mean actually readjust completely. Wow. Wow.
What was the problem?
It's just not coming together cleanly. Which means there's, you can see there's this space up here.
Oh, I see. So there's something, or it's not, or
Yeah.
something wedged in it or something.
Something's not clean there. Which means I'm going to need to, again, adjust the ball. But I think I feel much better about how this process works now.
After you do 50 of these, you'll be an expert.
Yes, well, I mean, let's be honest, judging by the time it's taken, I'll probably be at my 10,000 hours at that point. Ah! Holding things with one hand is always the difficult part. 'Cause everything is highly sprung. Nothing wants to sit nicely. So what I want to do is bring the spring up from the bottom. Okay, that appears to be good. So let's button it up. Much tighter. Much better. Okay, that's clean. Now we just have to adjust, or not adjust, attach the rest of it. So these, let's get those back on like that. Wait, right to right and left to left. I did do that correctly, didn't I? Ooh, wait, I might be able to actually get these back on. No, I'm just going to leave the pads for another day. Another person. Okay, so that is left side then. Okay, good. Right side. Reconnect. And let's start reconnecting. Which is a phrase I can't hear now without immediately thinking of Death Stranding.
Reconnecting?
Yes, let's start connecting.
Have you played through that?
I'm now about halfway through, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really enjoying it, actually.
Yeah, yeah. I played it on stream a while ago, and I also enjoyed it. Although Yeah, I could have used maybe a little bit less Kojima.
So this is my first like front to back full Kojima game.
Okay, you haven't played any of the Metal Gear Solid games?
Not yet, no. And honestly, I feel like I've been missing out. Kojima is exactly what I want out of video games. Tell me nothing about what's going on, but give me so many nouns that I need to figure out from context.
And so many nouns that are used in multiple ways. Like, what is a strand? There's about 5 definitions of a strand in the game.
Yep.
And also give characters very on-the-nose names in some cases.
I will still never get over the tweet that I read just before everything went to heck on that site of examples of dialogue in Death Stranding is, hey, it's Die Hardman. There's some banana bread on the table in the conference room. If you want to tuck into that sweet, delicious, savory, and yet so moist bread, feel free to do so. And of course, I'm reading that in his voice in my head too.
Have some energy drinks while you're at it.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they look weird as heck, but honestly, they function.
And so we just need to replace the pads on them.
Yeah, and honestly, we can probably someone can replace the pads on them because it's an icky job. And these ones are starting to feel like they're seizing up a bit,
but yeah, I always thought that, like, if it was themed differently, just the actual mail delivery mechanic,
yeah,
right, could just be like its own game that would, just like one of these kind of like fun, relaxing things. If you didn't have to, deal with fetuses and various other things.
Combat is my least favorite part of that game.
Horrible things going on.
Yeah, this is not going to go back on.
It's like if the thing that detected whether there's bad stuff going on was just the robot thing on your shoulder, and not the
not the actual
not
baby.
the fetus that's connected to the robot thing on your shoulder.
A little bit easier.
Then yeah, I feel like it would go down a little better.
But I'm not sure if I could really believe Mads Mikkelsen playing the flashbacks to a robot rather than a small baby.
That's true.
All right, folks, I think that's going to do it for Tinker, Tailor, Solder Fry for the day here. We fixed headphone. Well, we refurbished headphones, and we refurbished headphones, and both were done fully successfully, I would say. And now somebody gets the chance to have a nice, fancy party next time they stream. I want to thank everyone for watching here, whether you're watching live, whether you are chatting in the chat, whether or not you're just got it in the second monitor. We're happy to have everyone here and involved in the program. And I want to remind you that you can check out everything we do over at loadingreadyrun.com. We've got a schedule there, /live. You can put it in your own calendar. Store.loadingreadyrun.com will get you all the stuff you want from your... store.loadingreadyrun.com will give you a bunch of stuff. The stuff that you want because you bought it from our store. Twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun will let you sub to our channel. And, of course, patreon.com/loadingreadyrun keeps the lights on. I wonder how many people use that phrase, because I would love to see Patreon have to branch out into the power generating business.
I'm going to level with you. Keeping the lights on is not what we spend most of the Patreon money on.
That's a very good point.
It is a relatively small part of the Patreon money.
Jack, if you're building a hydroelectric dam, make sure you consult first, because we've got some major problems here in this province. Folks, thanks so much for watching Tinker, Tailor, Solder Fry. We will see you next week. No, we won't. We will see you in a fortnight, but never in Fortnite. ever forward, learning out of spite. Good night.